I did not arrive at this approach through theory. I arrived through personal struggle. My own gut broke down, my energy collapsed, and everything I had been trained to do was not enough. What finally changed things was understanding cellular energy as the foundation. That insight did not come from a textbook. It came from desperation, and it's now the foundation of everything I teach. On the outside, I was a functioning doctor. On the inside, my gut was in crisis. My energy was collapsing, and nothing I knew was working. This is the story of how I went from struggling patient to the practitioner I am today, and the single insight that changed everything. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share what I went through, what I learned, and the shift that forms the foundation of how I help every client who walks through my door. I spent years knowing something was wrong, but not having the framework to fix it. I was doing everything I was trained to do, but it wasn't enough. If you have felt that same confusion, that same frustration of trying everything and getting nowhere, this story will show you why. I'm Rachel Sarah Brown, 23 years in medicine, and for a significant portion of that time, I was quietly struggling with my own health while helping others with theirs. What I am about to share is not comfortable, but it is the truth. And it is why I do this work. I'm going to walk you through what happened to me, the turning point that shifted everything, and the lesson that I now teach every person I work with. So the first point is the doctor who was secretly struggling. For years, I was managing to function at a high level. I showed up, I worked, I helped patients. But underneath, I was dealing with serious gut inflammation, unpredictable energy, and a body that felt like it was working against me. I had C. diff, I had hemorrhagic E. coli infections in my gut. I developed mast cell activation syndrome, and believe me, that's no joke to be dealing with. I'd been exposed to mycotoxins. Each time something knocked me down, I would manage to get back up, but I never truly recovered. I was surviving, not thriving, and I kept that largely hidden because I was supposed to be the one with the answers. I was the doctor lots of people came to for help, and I could not figure out what was wrong with me. This is the part most practitioners don't share. We're supposed to have it all figured out, but I was living proof that knowing medicine does not mean understanding health. I could diagnose, I could prescribe, but when it came to my own gut, my own energy, and my own recovery, I was stuck. The tools I had were not enough, and admitting that was the beginning of change. Imagine being a mechanic whose own car keeps breaking down. You know engines, you've fixed thousands of cars, but yours will not run properly. You keep applying the same fixes, the same diagnostic approach, and nothing holds. That was me. I knew medicine, I knew functional medicine, but my body was not responding to what I knew. If you're struggling despite doing everything right, you're not failing. The framework is incomplete. That realization saved me, and it might save you too. But it was not just the gut issues. Something else was breaking down that I kept ignoring. Alongside the gut issues came crushing fatigue, and also brain fog that made even simple decisions feel impossible. Energy that crashed unpredictably no matter how much sleep I got. I pushed through because that's what high-functioning people do, let's face it. But the pushing was making things worse. I was running on fumes, borrowing from reserves I did not have, and paying for it with flares, setbacks, and longer recovery times. The fatigue was not laziness. It was my cells running out of power because of all the environmental toxins they were trying to deal with. And I just did not understand that fully yet. I thought I was tired because I was busy, although if I'm being perfectly honest, I'd also learned to live with a low energy, and some days I didn't give it that much thought. What I came to realize was that I was actually tired because my cells were depleted. Being tired because you're busy and being tired due to cellular depletion are completely different problems. I tried everything to fix the fatigue, better sleep hygiene, adaptogens, B vitamins, thyroid checks. Everything came back normal, but I was not normal. I was struggling. The tests were not measuring what was actually wrong. My mitochondria were failing to produce adequate energy, and no standard panel was going to show me that. Do you push through fatigue because you have to, not because you feel capable? Does rest fail to restore you the way it should? Have your tests come back normal while you feel anything but? If yes, you may be experiencing what I experienced. Cellular energy depletion that conventional medicine does not measure. After years of chasing diagnoses, I finally asked a different question. Instead of what is wrong with me, I asked, what does my body need to heal itself? That shift changed everything. I stopped looking for the right pill or the perfect protocol or supplement. I started looking at what my cells actually required. Energy. Not calories, not stimulants. Actual cellular energy produced by functioning mitochondria. I studied quantum biology, cellular bioenergetics, and how light, circadian rhythm, and environmental signals affect our energy production. And suddenly pieces that had never fit started falling into place. I stopped asking what was broken. I started asking what was missing. The answer was energy. real cellular energy. When I shifted my focus to mitochondrial function, circadian alignment, and reducing the stressors that were draining my system, things finally started to change. Not overnight, not perfectly by any means, but consistently. The gut calmed, the energy stabilized, the brain fog lifted, thank goodness. And I was not cured by a supplement, a specific diet, or a medication. I healed by restoring the conditions my cells needed to function. It was like I'd been trying to charge a phone with a broken charger for years. I kept blaming the phone. I tried different apps, different settings, factory resets. Nothing worked. Then I finally looked at the charger. The charger was broken. My charger was my mitochondria, my circadian rhythm, my cellular energy systems. Once I fixed the charger, the phone started working again. If you've been chasing diagnoses and treatments without lasting results, consider this. Maybe the question is not what is wrong with you. Maybe the question is what your cells need to work properly. What do they need? That reframe changes the entire approach. But understanding this intellectually was not enough. I had to change how I lived. If my story is resonating, subscribe. I share everything I have learned about gut health and cellular energy every week. Understanding that cellular energy was the foundation was step 1. Step 2 was changing my daily life to support it. I restructured my mornings around light exposure. I stopped eating in stressed states. That's a big one. I temporarily removed foods my inflamed gut could not handle, including fiber. I prioritized sleep as medicine, not luxury. I used nervous system regulation techniques and trained in emotional freedom techniques, EFT, which I still use daily. I experimented with different dietary approaches until I found what my body actually needed, not what ideology said I should eat. None of this was dramatic. All of it was consistent. And consistency is what finally allowed my body to heal. I did not heal through a breakthrough protocol. I healed through boring daily habits that restored what my cells needed. I had tried dramatic interventions, extreme diets, aggressive protocols. They would help briefly, then fail. What actually worked was simpler. Morning light, calm meals, reduced gut irritation, consistent sleep, nervous system regulation. These foundations done daily for months created the conditions where healing could finally happen. My body did not need more force, it needed the right conditions. Morning light, meaning sunrise and UVA rise every day, 5 slow breaths before every meal, eating without screens or stress, temporary fiber reduction and food simplification when my gut was reactive, consistent sleep timing, protecting my circadian rhythm as non-negotiable, blocking artificial light at night, daily nervous system work, using EFT to shift out of chronic survival mode, stopping the supplement chaos and focusing on foundations first, what was key. I stopped chasing the next protocol or miracle supplement. I stopped eating on the run in stressed states. And I stopped ignoring fatigue as something to push through. I stopped letting circadian rhythm slide because life was busy. I stopped treating symptoms without addressing the terrain underneath. But this was not just about healing myself. It fundamentally changed how I practiced root cause medicine. And it fundamentally changed how I approach each person I work with. So my own experience transformed how I work with clients. I stopped seeing gut symptoms as a primary problem. I started seeing them as downstream of cellular energy and nervous system function. I stopped prescribing long supplement lists without a clear hierarchy. I started focusing on foundations first. I stopped dismissing people whose labs looked normal but felt terrible. I started believing their experience. Everything I went through made me a better practitioner, not because I read about it, but because I lived it. I do not just understand this intellectually, I understand it because my body taught me. That changes how I listen to yours. And believe me, the irony, the humor of this is not lost in me because I'm an experiential learner and this is how I'm at the point where I'm at in terms of what I know. When clients tell me they feel dismissed, I understand I've been there. And when they say nothing works, I understand too. Nothing worked for me either until I found the right framework. When they feel hopeless, I understand I've been there too. But I also know the way out because I walked it myself. That lived experience is now the foundation of everything I teach. There's a difference between a guide who has studied the map and a guide who has walked the path. I have walked this path. I know where the pitfalls are. I know what looks promising but leads nowhere. I know what actually works, not because I read a study, but because I lived it in my own body. That is the kind of guide I want to be for you. So reflect on your own journey. How long have you been struggling? What have you tried that has not worked? What question have you been asking? What is wrong with me? Or what does my body need to heal? Consider the energy question. Can you rate your cellular energy from 1 to 10? Not motivation, we're talking about actual physical energy here. If it's below a 6, this may be the foundational issue beneath everything else. Has anyone ever addressed your energy production directly or just your symptoms? Identify one foundation to address this week. Morning light, calm eating, sleep consistency, nervous system regulation. Pick one. Start there. Foundations first. Give yourself permission to stop chasing. You don't need another supplement. You do not need another diagnosis. You need to restore the conditions your cells require to function. That is simpler than everything you've been doing, and it works. My story is not special. It is common. High-functioning people pushing through, trying everything and getting nowhere. The turning point was not finding the right treatment. It was understanding the right question. When you shift from chasing cures to creating conditions, everything changes. That shift took me years to make, and I hope hearing my story helps you make it faster. I didn't choose this path because it seemed interesting. I chose it because I had no other option. My health collapsed. My conventional training was not enough, and I had to find another way. What I found was this. The body heals when it has the energy to heal. Everything else is secondary. That lesson cost me years of struggle, but is now the foundation of how I help every client who comes to me. You are not broken. Your body is not randomly failing. You are missing the conditions your cells need to function. Restore those conditions and healing becomes possible. In the next video, I'm answering the 7 questions I get asked most often by clients. The questions you're probably too afraid to ask your own doctor. Click the link around this video and watch that one next.